Let's start with your feet hip distance apart. And we're going to start with your left leg. So bring your left hand on your hip. Step with your left foot all the way to the side as far as it feels comfortable. Then bend your left hip, send your hip all the way to the back, keeping that right leg straight. And ideally touch the floor on the inside of that left foot and then slowly come back in. So that's our side lunge. Step out with your foot, send your hip all the way to the back, touch the floor if you can, and then come back up. And reach back. You want to bring your stomach close to your thigh, your chest close to your knee, and then come back. Let's do 9 more of those. We go out and then in. Last 8 and then in. By touching the floor, we can really come deeply into that hip flexion on the left side for 7 and come back. Last 6 and in. Last 5, keep your back nice and straight. Last 4, touch the floor if you can. Last 3, and out. And then 2, come back one more time. Hop, and release. Let's switch sides. Bring your right hand on your right hip, and then step with that right foot all the way to the back. Bend your right hip, send your bum all the way back, and touch the floor on the inside of that right foot. You'll have that nice stretch on the inside of the left leg, and then step back up. 11 more. Go out and in. Last 10. And 9. Touch and come back. Step out for 8 and in. Last 7 and hop. Last 6 and back. 5 only. Step back. Last 4 and hop. Last 3 and come back in. Last 2 and in. 1 more and release. Great job. Grab a hand towel, fold it lengthwise once, fold it lengthwise one more time, and then fold it in half so it's a little bit shorter. Then come up to kneeling and then bring your hands on your pelvis. So find the bony parts of your pelvis and then walk your hands all the way on the top of your pelvis. And just notice how high your pelvis goes. For me, it goes pretty high. And then that's where we want to keep the towel. It's just above that bony part. You won't have much space. I only have like just over a finger of the waist. So my waist is very, very, very short. And then the rib cage starts. So the space between your ribs and the towel and the ribs and the pelvis, that's where the towel will be laying down to support that lower back so we can stay nice and straight. So let's lay down on one side of your body. Be aligned with the back end of the mat, but bring your feet all the way to the front end of the mat. Bring the towel just above that bony part of your pelvis, straighten your lower arm out, and just rest the head on your hand. In that way, straight away, your top leg should be as long as your lower leg is. If it's a little bit shorter, make it longer to stretch it out. So we're not allowing the spine to collapse down. The towel is supporting us and holds us up. Bring your top hand in front of you. Lift your top foot as high as your hip and now stretch that top leg all the way to the back, as far back as you can, and then curl your toes towards your shin. Imagine that you have a paintbrush on your heel and you want to draw a figure 8 that is horizontal to the floor, up and around. You're breathing in and out. Make it only as wide as the mat is. And then 4, 5, nothing is moving in your body. 5 more of those, up and around. Last 4. Last 3, up and around. Maybe the foot could go a little bit higher than the hip. Last 2, up and around. Draw those circles through the heel, up and around, and then reverse them the other way around. Draw that figure 8 the other way around. And then 3, we're going for 8 of those. 4, and up and around. 5, hopefully you can feel those muscles on the top of your hip already. 6, 7, and then 8, lift up and around. 9, and just one more. Hop, and then release. Great job. Let's switch sides. Please lay down on the other side of the mat. Bring your bum all the way to the back end of the mat, but bring your feet forward. Bring the towel just above that bony part of your pelvis. Straighten your lower arm out. The top hand is in front of you. Make sure that your top leg is as long as the lower leg. Lift your foot as high as your hip and then reach with your heel all the way to the back. So you're stretching and you're opening the front of your hip. Imagine that you have a paintbrush on that heel and then draw a horizontal figure 8. Front and then back. Inhale and exhale. And then 4, keep your body as still as possible. 5, maybe that heel could go tiny bit higher than the hip. 5 more times like that. Last 4. Last 3. Last 2, as smooth movement as possible. And then reverse it the other way around for 10. And then 9. 8, up and around. 7. And 6. 5. Last 4. Last 3. And then 2 figure 8s. 1 more and release. Great job. Lay down on your stomach. Bring your forearms down on the mat with your fingers together ideally, and stay with your feet hip distance apart. Try to keep your elbows just underneath your shoulders, and then relax your chest between your forearms, and it's like you want to bring your nose between your fingers. Slide the shoulders away from the ears and feel like your neck stays nice and long. And now gently pull the stomach away from the mat, so you're engaging the core just enough to support the lower back. Have a sensation of your tail reaching and lengthening away from you, and that will cause the core muscles to activate and lift a little bit. If you relax your belly, your bum will be sticking out, and you'll feel that a little bit of tension in your lower back will shorten the lower back. So I want you to pull that belly away from the t-shirt, and you'll find that you're creating a little bit more length in that lower back straight away. Then keep the shoulders nice and relaxed away from the ears. Imagine that you have paintbrushes on your lashes and you're lifting your eyes. Look down towards the mat, and then look along the mat. Then look where the mat meets the floor, and then look along the floor and feel like you're stretching yourself forward, and then come back all the way down. We don't want to feel it in the lower back. If you do, that means that you lifted too high or you didn't engage your core enough. Have a sensation of stretching yourself forward and then come back in. Almost like if you would have a little bit more strength in your arms, a little bit more strength in your abs, you could lift your stomach fully off the floor. Maybe you could lift your hips off the floor. You stretch your body forward and then come back in. Even have a sensation of pulling that mat underneath you. Like by lifting your chest, looking towards the front of the mat, you could wrinkle the mat between your elbows and your hips. And then come back in. If this feels good, lift your elbows, keep your hands on the side of your shoulder, on the side of your chest. Bring the elbows close to your chest and do the same thing. Look to the front of the mat where the mat meets the floor, along the floor, and then even where the floor meets the wall, and maybe even along the floor all the way up. And then straight line with your eyes, and you lower yourself down. Let's do 2 more, whichever variation you're choosing to do today. Open your heart, stretch yourself forward, and then come back all the way in. And just 1 more time. Open up your chest, stretch yourself forward, and then slowly come back in. Sit back towards your heels. Give yourself a nice stretch. Stay in this stretch as long as it feels good. And then slowly roll back up. Great job.